Hello students, myself Vijayalakshmi Sadlapur, Senior Grade Lecturer, Government Polytechnic Vijaypur, Department of Collegiate and Technical Education. Welcome you all on a session on control structures related to your C programming lab of third semester. The content flow in this session is we shall be going through some of the branching and looping statements. That is, we are going to study the switch statement, break, continue, and go to, which are the branching statements, while, do while, and for loop, which are the looping statements. The control structures in your C can be classified as branching and the looping statements. So, under the branching, we again classify it as conditional and unconditional. Under the conditional, we have the if statements and the switch. Under unconditional, we go through the break, continue, and go to. In one of my previous session, we have covered the if statement. In this session, we will start with the switch statement and also cover the looping statements, which are again classified as entry controlled and exit controlled. Now let us start with the switch statement. The switch statement is the control statement which allows you to make the decision if you have more number of alternatives or the more number of choices. We are going to use three keywords here, that is switch, case, and the default. Okay, the case is followed by integer or a character constant, and the values mentioned in front of the case should not be repeated in your program, or that is in your switch. Okay, so this is a syntax. So here the first keyword is switch, which we will have a test expression. Then the second case, the keyword is the case, which is followed by an integer or a character value. And here this case, the value present or followed in front of the case should not be repeated. These values should not be the same. Okay, there should be only one value. Then next, the third keyword is the default. Okay, so what happens is we are going to mention an expression in front of the switch. This expression is evaluated and this is matched with the value present in front of the case. When it matches, then that particular block gets executed and the subsequent following cases after that particular case will also get executed, and lastly the default case will also be executed if we are not using the break. But if we use the break, then only that particular case related to your expression will be executed and your control comes out of this particular switch. Here, this is the flowchart related to your switch expression. This is your expression which is first evaluated, then it is matched with the different cases. Okay, these are the different case values which we will be matching with the expression. So your control gets into the block which is matched with the case present in this expression. If we use the break statement, then it executes that particular block and comes out, okay, of that particular switch. If you are not using the break, then the next subsequent cases will also be executed, default will also be executed, and then you come out of your statement, switch statement. So this is the explanation I have summarized here. So here the first, the integer expression, okay, following the switch is evaluated, okay, or that is found first. Then next, this value is matched one by one against the constant values which we have written in front of the case statement. Okay, when the match is found, once we find out the match, then it executes that particular case and all the cases, okay, and all the subsequent cases and also the default will be executed. Okay, and if there is no match, if there is no match found, then it is going to execute only the default and then it comes out of your switch. We can understand this by taking a simple example. Here I have initialized a variable I of the integer data type to the value of 2, and I have used this value of I as one of the expression with your switch. Now, this value of I is equal to what? It is equal to, so here it is equal to 2 as I have initialized this. So it is equal to 2. Anyway, now it is entering the switch. This is 1. So it is not matching with 2. So it is not getting executed. The next it goes to case 2. So this is matching with this value of 2. So this is going to execute. Later we are also executing the subsequent cases. So case 3 also gets executed and default also gets executed. So with this explanation, what should be our output now? The output should be what? I am in case 2, I am in case 3, I am in default. This will be our output. Only as this case is not matching with this expression, this is not going to get executed. So your output will be what? I am in case 2, I am in case 3 and I am in default. Now, I only want to print this one case. Then I have to use the break statement. Okay. So if I have just changed here, I am using the break statement. The same example, I have used the break statement for all the cases. So now, first again, I is equal to 2. It comes here for the case 1. It is not getting matched. So it's not going to execute this one. Then in it is going to enter the case 2. It matches. So it is going to print this value. And as we have this break statement, it is not going to enter the case 3 and also it's not going to enter the default, whatever. It directly from here, as we are going to write the break statement, it comes out of your switch and goes to the next statement of X. So this is how we will have a change when you use a break statement. Now, as already I said, in front of the your switch, we can either use the integer or a character. This character is here declared using the single quotation. Okay, so here character C is initialized as the value X. So I am using this value of C here in the case. Okay, now the same working. First it comes here. This is not matching, so it is not going to execute this case. Next, here A, it is the case is A. Again, it is not matching with X, so it's not going to execute this case also. Then it comes to the third point. Here case is equal to X, so it is going to execute the case X. And as we have used the break, it is not going through the default also. It directly comes out to your statement X. This is how your switch is going to work. Okay. So when we are going to use these characters will be replaced by the respective ASCII values. The compiler first converts these to the ASCII values and then the comparison is been done. The same is being summarized here. So the switch is going to be used when we have more number of alternatives or it is a multi-way decision making statement, and the switch is followed by an integer or an expression which is to be first evaluated. Case is followed by an integer or a character constant, and if you want to come out of that particular case, then we are going to use the break statement. Okay, so this is a very simple, only these 4 points to be remembered to understand the switch statement. Okay, so here you can just see one different type of example I have taken. We have declared A is equal to 2, which is of the integer data type. Next, I have declared B is equal to A. Okay, then switch B. Okay, switch B. Then we have the different cases, case A, case 3 and default. And lastly, exit from the switch. Now when we execute this program, what could be the output? Whether it will be case 2 or case expression not constant, message, case 2, case 2, case 3, exit from switch. What shall be the output here? Yes, you can just have a pause in the video and you can just think over. Okay, here I'll just give the solution. As A is a variable, isn't it? So we cannot declare any of the variables. We need to declare the constants only, either the integer constant or a character constant. So here as A is one of the variable, okay, so here we cannot use this variable. So that's why your output will be a error message. So here we cannot use case expression should not be constant. It is not a constant. So we cannot use a variable. As we have used a variable, it's a invalid. So that's why it will be a error message. The same way, one more example I have taken. So here we are declaring the things day and we have taken the switch day. And just you observe this particular statement here. We are using the operational statement in between the two cases. Okay, so this is also invalid. Okay, we cannot use the operation, any of the operational statements in between the two cases. Okay, so that's why again this is a invalid statement. So your output will be what? It will give you a error message. Okay, it is a giving you a syntax error because we cannot use any of the operators. It's OR operator. We cannot use any of the operators between the case statement. So this was all about the break switch statement. Now we'll go through this break. As already I have explained, break statement is a keyword through which you come out unconditionally of that particular loop. That is unconditionally without waiting for any of the conditions to be tested. If you want to come out of the loop instantly, then we use the break statement. And the best example is just now we have gone through the switch where we have used the break. Okay. So when break is encountered in any of the loop, inside the loop, if the control is automatically comes out of the loop, that is it goes to the first statement after the loop. So that is the break statement. So here you can just see if this condition, if after this condition, if we write the break, then it comes directly out of this if statement. Okay. So here for the, it is for the while loop, the same way it is for the do while. So here if I use a break, it comes out of this do and it goes for the while. Okay, comes out of this. It comes out of the do while completely. Okay. So here also we are using the for loop. We have used this break inside the for loop. Okay. So once I use this break inside the for loop, the your control comes out of this for loop itself. So here this is inside the nested for loop. That is inside the for I have used the break. So it comes out of this particular nested for loop when I use the break. Okay. So that is whenever we are going to use it inside the loop, it comes out of the loop and goes to the statement after the loop. Okay. So that is how the break statement is used. Next we will go through the continue statement. So here in the break statement we are seeing that the control comes out of that particular loop, but if you want to go for the beginning of that loop, then we are going to use the continue statement. Okay, so in some programming, to take the control to the beginning of the loop, okay, bypassing the statements inside the loop, then we are going to use a continue statement. Okay, so when it is used in any of the loop, then it goes to the beginning of the loop. So this is the difference between the break and the continue. Break comes out of that particular loop, okay, and continue goes to the beginning of that loop. So that is the difference we have between the break and the continue statement. So here the condition is that the continue statement, it works only within the loops. Okay, then it forces the next iteration of the loop to take place by skipping any of the unexecuted statements in the loop. That is, if we want that some of the statements should not be executed, but we have to execute that loop again from the beginning, then I can use the continue statement. Okay, now in the for loop, what happens in the for loop? If I use the continue, then it directly it causes the increment of your counter, and then it the condition test portions of the loop to be executed. Okay, it again executes that remaining part. And if you are using this continue statement in the while and the do while loop, then again it directly goes to the conditional test. It goes to the conditional test. It is nothing but here in these 2 points, what we are observing is, in these 2 points we are observing that it again goes to the beginning of that particular loop wherein we are going to test your condition. Here is one simple example. What is happening here? We are going to initialize two variables I and j. I is equal to 1 and I is here here I is initialized to the value of 1, and this is a test expression that it should be your loop should continue until I is less than or equal to 2, and we are incrementing the counter, that is I is equal to I plus 1. And for the inner loop I have taken j, okay, with the same conditions. Now you can just see here, if I is equal to j, see this continues return inside the inner for loop. So as soon as I is equal to j, it has to continue. It should not go for the next one. When it continues, again it is going for the testing. Okay. So what is happening here is, you are going to print all the values when I is not equal to j. But when I becomes equal to j, we don't print that particular value. So if you just see the output, the value is for I is equal to 1 and I is equal to 2, and the second is 2 and 1. But we have missed the values of 1, 1 and 2, 2. Isn't it? So that is because when both the values are becoming equal to 1, the continue again goes to the next iteration. So that's why we are going to use, as we have used this, we are not going to print the values of I and j with the same values. Okay, the same explanation is given here. When the value of I equals to j, the continue statement takes the control of the for loop. Okay, by bypassing this what a printf statement. It bypasses this printf statement and again goes to the inner for loop. Okay, so this is what happens when we use the continue statement. Just one point what you have to remember is, continue statement goes to the beginning of that loop in which it has been used. Okay. The same, see, when I use a continue statement in the while, it goes to the while's testing point. Okay, that is the beginning of the loop. The same way, when it is used with your continue statement, again it goes for the testing statement. Okay, now when you are using it in the for statement, so it is again going for the testing statement. So this is how you are going to again begin that loop once again. Okay. Now the very simple one, again this is also unconditional branching itself, that is a goto statement. So here what we do is, we are going to, that is your control jumps to a particular address, okay, unconditionally. So when I mention, we'll have this label, I'm using a label, this label will be nothing but the address where the control has to move. Okay, so go to the label. So go to the label means it directly comes to the statement written in front of this label. Okay, so this is when we go move forward in your program, it becomes a forward jump, and we may also go backward also. So this is nothing but the backward jump. So here what is happening, the control is just passing or it is just jumping to the statement in which the address is being mentioned. Okay, so here I have mentioned the address in the label, so it goes to that particular statement. The same way, when I mention this label here, it goes to this particular statement, forward jump and backward jump, both will have. Just one condition, one question related to your loop. Which statement is true for the about the loop is true? The index value is retained outside the loop. Index value can be changed within the loop. Goto can be used, okay, to jump out of the loop. Which of the statement is true here? Okay, all the statements are true because related to your for loop, the index value is retained outside the loop. Yes, we can have the initialization and it can be changed because we have the counter changes. Either you can increment or decrement, and also we can use the goto statement, as already we have seen. We can use the goto statement also to jump out of the loop. So that's why all these conditions are true. One more question related to your goto is, using the goto inside for loop is equivalent of using continue, break and return. It is equivalent to which of the following? It is not equivalent to any, because what happens in the continue statement, we move to the beginning. Break statement, it comes out of that loop totally, and return is used for your subroutines. So goto is nothing but we are going to unconditionally jump to a particular given label. So that's why none of the values are. Now next we will start with the looping. So as already we said, the control structures can be broadly classified under branching and the looping statements. So now we have covered the branching statements, starting with the if in the previous session, and in this session we have started with the branching statements related to the switch, break, continue and goto. The next important topic related to your control structures is looping. Okay, so we'll start with this the details of this looping now. Now in all the programs which we have done, either it goes for the sequential execution, that is we have not used any of the control structures, or we may also go for the decision control, that is a branching statements. Okay, but sometimes we may require that that particular part of the program has to repeat again and again. Okay, so in such conditions we use the loops. Okay, we use the loops. So what we do is a particular uh, part of the program or a particular action in your program has to continuously get executed. Okay, then we say that it is a looping. Okay, so this repetitive operation is done by using the loop control instructions. Okay, so we are going to have three methods to repeat a part of the program, that is the for statement, while and do while, amongst which for and while statements are the entry controlled, or it is they are the pre-tested, whereas the do while is the exit control or the post tested. That is, here we are controlling these loops. Okay, either while entering the loop or while exiting the loop. Okay, so that's why we say that they are either entry controlled or exit controlled. So what is present in this loop? How we are going to build this loop? So this loop is going to have two segments. Okay, this is going to have two segments. One is the body of the loop and the other is the control statement. Okay, so the control statement is nothing but it is going to test the conditions. Okay, and according to the condition true or false, it is going to execute that particular body of the statement. Okay, and depending upon the position where we are writing this test statement, we can classify it as what? Either the entry controlled or the exit control statements. What we are doing in this looping process? Okay, the looping process can be set up in four ways. First step is what? We are going to set a and initialize a counter. Okay, we are going to set up and initialize a counter. The next we are going to the body of the loop, that is the execution of a particular statements, and then we are going to test the condition, okay, for which the execution has to take place, and we are going to increment the counter. So as we have initialized this counter here, that is to be incremented or either increment or decrement, depends. Okay, so this is how we are going to have the process of your looping. Now we will start with the first one, that is a while statement, the simple one. So here I have both the syntax and as well as the your flow chart for your while loop. So while condition. So if this condition is true, then it is going to execute this code. Okay, you can just see here the condition is being tested. If the condition is true, then it goes through the code block, and then again it goes back to the testing of the condition. If it is false, when this condition becomes false, it directly comes out. It directly comes out of that condition. That is a loop. Okay. So here the detailed syntax of your for loop is, we are first going to initialize a loop counter. Then here we are going to test it. Test the condition. And if this condition is true, then we are going to execute some statements. Okay, and then we are going to increment the counter, and again we are going to test. Okay, again we are going to test it with the given expression. So this continues as long as this test expression goes to be true. Once it goes false, then for false it comes out of your loop. Once it goes false, okay, once it is false, it comes out of the loop. So that's why what we have done here, we have tested this before entering into the loop. So that's why it is said to be the pre-tested or the entry controlled loop. So the same explanation what I have given just now. This the statements within the while loop will be executed until the tests remain true. Okay. So what should be these values? True is nothing but it should be a non-zero value. Okay, until this condition gives you the non-zero value, the loop will get executed. Okay, so here are some examples. So these are some examples that can be used to test your expression given in your for loop. Okay, then once this value goes to be a zero value, then it says that the test is false and you come out. Okay, now this loop counter can be, that is the value which we are using as a counter, it can be either an integer or it can be either a float. Okay. So this is one thing. Next, unless your test condition goes to be false, it keeps on executing. Okay, so if it never becomes false, then it will be what, a infinite loop. No? So that is, we will have to go for one of the condition when it becomes false, otherwise it is to be executed forever indefinitely. Okay, so this is one condition which we have to know for all of the looping statements. Any of your looping statements can enter into your infinite looping. Okay, so that's why we have to keep an expression, or we have to keep the test condition such that at a particular point it has to go false, otherwise your loops will keep on acting indefinitely. Okay, so here just one simple example. What is happening here? I have used initialized I is equal to 1. Now I am having the condition if I is less than or equal to 10, then it is going to print I. Just students pause this for a while and think about what could be the output. Okay, so what is happening here? In the while loop, I have only one single statement which is printing the value of I, but I have not used any of the incrementing of I. Okay, I have not used any value which is changing the value of I. That is, it can be either the incrementing of I, or it can be either the decrementing of I. So as this condition for I always remains true, okay, so it is a indefinite loop. Understood? Hence it becomes a indefinite loop because this condition never goes false. It was always returning the true value. So that's why it becomes a indefinite loop. The same example I am changing here. What we are doing is I am checking the value for, I have initialized it as 10, and for A is less than 20, it has to print the value of A, and I am going to increment the value of A. So here it starts from 10, keeps on incrementing every time and prints the value. But when it becomes less than 20, that is when it reaches the value of 19, what it is doing, this condition becomes a false and it comes out. Okay, and it comes out of that loop. So hence it is going to print the values from 10 to 19. So it is a definite loop. It is going to print a particular values. Then we will go for the next statement, that is a do while statement. So do while statement is the one uh, where we are going to execute this loop first and then we are going to test the condition. Okay, so that's why it is said to be the exit controlled, or it is said to be the post. Okay, or it is not pre-tested, it is a post-tested statement, and also it is known as a odd loop statement. So whenever we want to execute the loop at least once, or we are not knowing how many times the loop is to be executed, in such conditions we go for the do while statement. So first we say it is do, execute the body, and then we are going to check your condition. So that's why this is the looping statement wherein your body executes at least once before testing your condition. So here is the flow chart. First you enter into the body of the loop, then the test your condition. If it is true, again it goes to the body of the loop. If it is false, it comes out of your do while statement. See, here is one of the interesting program where you are going to execute the loop unknown number of times. Unknown number of times means it's not indefinite or it is not infinite number of times, but unknown. Why I am saying it is unknown is, see here, do, enter the number. Okay, you are going to enter the number and you are going to print the square. You are going to print the square, that is number into number. Now it is going to print the square. Next, it is asking whether you want to find out the square of one more number, that is the next number. Now if the user will say either yes or no. So if the it is going to consider that value. So if it is saying yes, okay, the another value whatever is been entered, if it is equal to y, then it is going to enter. If it is equal to no, okay, now if I enter it as n, then it comes out of the loop. Okay, so this is depending upon the user. You cannot here guess how many number of times this is going to run, but at least once for the first time it is running. And if you write here no, then it comes out. If you write yes, again it goes to find out the square of the next number. Okay, so see here I have entered the number as 5, the square comes out to be 25. Want to enter another number? Yes, I am giving the value as y. Okay, then again we enter the number 7, the value is 49. Want to enter the another number? Now if I say no, okay, so what is the condition here? You are testing the condition with if it is equal to y, only then it has to enter, otherwise it has to come out. And as I have given it as n, then there is no further output. It has come out of your do while loop. So this is how your do while loop is going to work. Here again the same thing, one of the example we have taken. You can just go through this example, wherein it is going to show you the difference between the do while and the while loop. See, as already I have explained, which loop is guaranteed to execute at least one time? Which it is? It is yes, it is the do while loop. Okay. The do while loop terminates when the condition expression returns. When it has to terminate, any of the loops, they will get terminated when it is going to get what value? It is the 0 value. Okay. Now, for loop in a C program, the if condition is missing. If the condition is missing, what we have to consider? It will be considered as what? As already I have explained in the previous session, it is always considered to be what? It is always considered to be, yes, it is always considered to be true. Okay. Next, we'll go for the next one, that is the for statement. So the for statement, this is the syntax for the for statement. It will have three expressions under the for statement. One is initialization, test the condition, and then increment. Okay, so then we are going to write the body of the loop. After the depending upon these conditions, the body of the loop will be executed and you come out of the statement once the test condition goes to be false. So we are going to initialize the expression, test the expression. If it is true, enter the body, update the expression, and then if it is, you again go for the testing and you keep on continuing this until this expression goes true. Once it goes false, you come out of your loop. So how it works? The same, the explanation, very interesting, the for loop. So here we are going to have, here first you are going to initialize the statement, which is done only once. Okay, initialize the statement or initialize the counter. Then next, we are going to compare it with the text expression. If it is false, directly the loop will be terminated. If it comes out to be true, the statements will be executed and you are going to update the expression. Again, you are going to test the expression, okay, with this value, and you keep on continuing this until your test expression goes to be false. So this is how your loop works. Only one thing you have to remember is that you are going to first initialize the statement for one time, and you are going to update it, and you are going to test it a number of times. Now, what are the properties of these three expressions we are using under the for statement? The expression represents the initialization of the loop variable, and we can initialize more than one variable in the expression, and the expression one is optional. It can be optional. This is one thing, that is not only one value, more than one variables can be initialized in your expression 1. This is related to expression 2, a very important one. This is a testing. Okay, so here also we can go for more than one test expressions, and you can, the control keeps on checking this test expression until the last test expression. So when it is checking one test expression, the other two test expressions will be what? They will be just taken as the true itself. Okay, so the test expression, if it comes out to be true, it enters the loop, and if it becomes false, then it comes if it goes false, then it comes out of your loop of your for statement. And this expression 2 is also optional. So if it is not present, we are going to assume that it is present and it will be a non-zero value. That is, it's a true value. Okay, so that is one thing for all the loops we are going to consider. The next is the expression 3. So this is to update the variable. That is, we call this as a increment or decrement of the counter. Okay. So again here we can go for more than one variables. Okay. And this is also optional. See, whenever these expressions are optional, we will have to consider that they are present with the true values. Okay. So that is why we keep them as a optional statements. You can just see the simple program here. We are going to print the numbers from 1 to 10. I have initialized, say this is the initialization which is done only once. I is equal to 1. It checks the expression. Yes, it is true. It enters the loop of the for it is printing I. Then after this again it goes for what? Update the expression. It goes for I plus plus. Now I becomes equal to 2. Again it is going to check this one. I is 2 is less than 11. Again it is going to print. So here, once the for loop starts getting executed, it has come across the expression 1 only one time. Later on, it is only going to loop under this expression 2, body of the loop, expression 3. Expression 2, body of the loop, expression 3, and so on. This is how your for loop is working, and this would be the output for your program. So here I have taken this example just to show that we are going to initialize more than one variable in the expression 1. Okay, so this is for that example I have taken a very simple example again which can be analyzed easily by you. So the output would be what? 0 plus 12 plus 23, which is 35. Then again it is added when a is less than 2. Okay, a plus plus we are going to have. So initially it was 0, it was true. Then it becomes, for the second time it becomes 1, and for the third time it becomes equal to 2. So this condition will become false. So that's why it comes out. So total it is printing only 35 and 36. This example I have taken to show that we can skip any of the expressions. So this expression is being skipped here. The expression 1 is being skipped, and it is being initialized earlier itself. Okay. So again it is going to print the values from 1 to 4. The same as the previous one. We have initialized it earlier and we have skipped the expression 1. Here I have skipped the expression 2. When the expression 2 is being skipped, we always consider it to be what? The true condition, and hence when the testing condition is absent, okay, when the testing condition is absent, we are going to consider it to be the true value. So as it always remains true, it is going to enter the infinite loop. Okay, so what is an infinite loop? If the condition never becomes false, if the condition is going to never be a false value, or if it is never going to give you a 0 value, then it is going to enter the infinite loop. Okay, so if the expression is absent, then it is to be assumed as true itself. Okay, so here commonly what we use, if we want the loop to be infinite, then this is the construct we are going to use for the infinite loops. So once your program enters the infinite loop, you can come out of that by pressing the key Control C. Okay, Control plus C. Once you press this, only then you can come out of that infinite loop. So here is one simple example which is showing again an infinite loop. I have not given any of the expressions here. Okay, all the 3 expressions are absent. It means that this loop runs forever. Okay, so this is all about the control structures. So under 2 sessions, session 1 and session 2, I have covered all the details related to your control structures. This is the reference I have used to build up this material. And this is my team. We are all working on the content development of your C programming lab. Thank you.